Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So today's session, the topics are listed on the screen. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay, so today is the third session. So we will be today discussing on accounting masters and accounting vouchers. So before we get into today's session, are there any clarifications or any questions with respect to previous session? If there is any questions with respect to previous session, you could ask now so that we will answer those things and then move forward. Either you can unmute and speak or you can type your questions on chat. Okay, so I believe there are no questions. So we will start this session. Today's topic is the first is the accounting masters, and then we'll move on to accounting vouchers. Hello, is my voice not audible? Is my voice audible? Can anyone respond? Okay, thank you. And the screen is also visible. Is my screen visible? Can anyone respond, please? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this. Okay. So the first is the accounting masters. What do we understand by accounting masters in Tally? So you can just go through this description, what I have written. Okay, but what you need to basically understand is these are set of data that is stored in Tally, okay, which is required for your financial reporting purpose. And this masters will be reused again and again whenever required during the transactions, while making the vouchers, or while generating the reports. So what are all the key masters of accounting which is required in Tally? So first is the accounting groups. Second is accounting ledgers. Okay, and of course that accounting ledgers will also have accounting opening balances. Okay, from your previous financial year, whatever the closing balances that is there, that will be carried as opening balances and that will be fed in part of your ledger master. And of course, once when you have this accounting groups and accounting ledgers, you can have your chart of accounts created. So it by default gets created. The chart of accounts gets created. So what is accounting groups? So accounting groups, first thing is it's a collection of ledgers, okay, based on how a business requires reporting. So example, I can say indirect expenses as an accounting group. Under indirect expenses, we might have individual expense ledger. So group is nothing but a collection of ledgers of the same nature. Then the groups are maintained to determine the hierarchy of ledger accounts, which will be helpful in reporting purpose. For reports, how do you require your reports? Based on that, you will define your groups and subgroups. Okay. So the groups initially, okay, in when you create a company in Tally, there are around 28 groups which are predefined in Tally. Out of this 28 groups, around 15 groups are called primary groups, and another 13 groups are subgroups under a primary group. And these primary groups also are ultimately classified under capital or revenue. If it is capital, further it is classified as either liabilities or assets. And if it is a revenue, either it is shown as income or expenditure. Very simple. There are only 4 major heads under which the group is classified. One, either it's an asset, or it's a liability, or it's an income, or it's an expenses. So the whole accounting, the reporting and the accounting is just based on these 4 classifications. Okay, and the group is also classified under these 4 classifications. So as I told you, there are around 15 primary groups and 13 subgroups. And as a user, if you need any more groups based on your reporting purpose, you could create your own groups and you could create your own subgroups. Okay, so example, in standard Tally, when you create a company, fixed asset is one group which is under assets. Now under fixed assets, you could create multiple subgroups. Say example, you could say plant and machinery as one subgroup, vehicles as one subgroup, okay, office equipments as one subgroup, and under that you could have individual ledgers created. So you could have any number of subgroups. Say like example, you could say fixed assets. Under fixed assets there is plant and machinery. Under plant and machinery there is subgroup called plant. Under plant you have factory missions, shop floor missions as one more subgroup. Under shop floor mission, you could have area A, area B, area C as subgroups. So there are instances where you might require multiple hierarchies. Still, Tally allows you to configure the way you want. You could have n number of hierarchies set up in Tally under the groups. Okay. So if you look at the standard groups and subgroups that is created in Tally, once when you log in, as I told you, there are 4 classifications: assets, liability, income, and expenditure. So if you look at assets, so under assets, there is current assets, and under current assets, you have bank accounts, cash account, deposits, loans and advances, stock in hand, debtors. Similarly, you have fixed assets under assets. You have investment under assets. You have miscellaneous expenses under assets. Under liability, you have branch and divisions. Capital account, under capital, you have reserves and surplus. Current liabilities, under current liabilities, you have duties and taxes, provisions, and sundry creditors. And you have main group called loans. Under loans, you have bank accounts, bank ODs, secured loans, and unsecured loans. And even the suspense comes under liability. Under income, you have direct incomes, indirect incomes, and sales account. And under expenditure, you have direct expenses, indirect expenses, and purchase accounts. So now, as a user, you need to create any new groups or subgroups. You could just go and create based on your business requirement. That is possible. Okay. So this is about the accounting groups. So if there is any questions, I will take this. Else we can go to Tally and see how these accounting groups are created. How do you need to basically work on Tally? Okay. So I've just logged on to Tally here. Hope the screen is visible for you. So on the main menu, as I told you on Gateway of Tally, there is masters, where you can either create the masters or alter or modify the masters, and you could look at the chart of accounts. Then comes on a day-to-day basis, you can record the transaction in terms of vouchers. So we will go there. So first thing is, you want to create or you want to alter the existing one. That is the action point that you need to decide. Okay. So now, as I explained you, there are around 28 groups that are default created in Tally. So if you want to go and look at the groups, you can just go to chart of accounts and say, what do you want to see? You want to see groups. Look here. These groups are already defined. So example, if I just go to branch and divisions, click on enter and see how it has been defined. So here, if you look at, it is under primary. And once when you say it's under primary, you have to define whether it's asset, liability, income, or expenditure. Okay, so it can fall under any of these four category only if it is a primary. If it is a subgroup, then you can select the group which is already available in your Tally. Okay, say example, let me just show you. I want to create a new liability group. So what I'll do is I'll go to create and I'll say group. Okay, say example, I'll say partner current account as one subgroup. Okay, so if it is a subgroup, I can select from the existing group that is available. So on the right hand side, all the groups are getting listed out. Or you don't want to link to any of this group, then you can directly take it to primary. And once when you click on primary, then it is asking the nature of the group, whether it's an asset, expenses, income, or liability. So like this, you can create any number of groups or subgroups in Tally. Is that clear? So to create, simple, just click on create. What do you want to create? Groups. So you give the name and under you can select the existing groups, or you can go to primary and specify which classification. And there are already default 28 groups that is pre-created in Tally. So example, if you just go to reserves and surplus, say example, it is coming under capital account and capital account is coming under liability. So that is how it is. So if you look at reserves and surplus, it is coming under capital account. So it is not allowing you to change this, okay, because of the reporting purpose. So it is coming under capital account and this capital account is coming under liabilities. So it is defined as a liability. Or example, sundry debtors, it's coming under current assets. Okay. And this is the subgroup. Similarly, if you go to main group, say example, current liabilities is the main group. So here it is under, it is primary. Then the nature of group is liabilities. So that is how the hierarchies are defined. Hope this is clear. Okay. Are there any questions on this groups before we get into the next topic of ledger? Hope this is clear. This is very simple. Okay, but you need to know the concept clearly. Okay, once when you understand this, this will become much more easier. Okay, so looks like there is no other question. So let's move on to the next master. Okay, in accounting. Yeah, the next is accounting ledgers, or we call it as ledgers. What is a ledger? Ledger is a master, which is typically a last leaf in accounting masters where transactions are linked. So when you are making a voucher, the linking happens to ledger. Okay. So that is a master that is created in Tally, and each and every ledger is linked to a group. So when you are creating a ledger, you should always define it comes under which group is in Tally is what that you need to define. Okay, and this is an accounting master. And every transactions are linked with debit ledger and credit ledger. So for that, you need to have the ledgers that is created or which is available in Tally. So further information that you need to understand. When you look at trial balance in Tally, it contains the summary of balances of all the ledgers. And in Tally, there are two predefined ledgers that's already available. One is cash ledger and second is profit and loss account. All other ledgers as required by the business, you need to create it in Tally. Okay. So let's come back. So now let's go to Tally to understand this. So first thing is, if you want to know how many ledgers are already available in Tally, or how many masters or how many transactions that is already available in Tally, the best thing that you could do is you could just go and look at the statistics. Okay, so statistics will give you how many ledgers are there, how many groups are there, how many transactions are there in Tally. Okay, so where could you go and look at the statistics? Very simple. In Tally, on the top, you have something called go to. Go to is just like search, like you have Google search in internet. Similarly, for Tally search in your Tally data, if you want to search anything, you can just click on go to. So what do you want to search here? So there are a lot of reports that's available, okay, that you could search for. So one is statistics. Look here, there is statistics. So click on statistics. You could see the statistical information of this data. Typically, it is saying number of groups, number of ledgers, number of voucher types, and number of currencies. These are masters. And on the left-hand side, you have transactions. Okay. So this report, where it is available in Tally, okay, you could just go to, in Tally, you can go to search and type what you want to search. For example, this is a statistical information. You just type on statistics, you get this information. So there are 28 groups as we discussed, and there are two ledgers. So as I told you, the ledgers are always linked to the group. So once when you look at a ledger view, it will also show you under which group it is. Say example, as I told you, there are two standard ledgers that is created. One is cash. So the cash is available here. You could look at when you look at this chart of accounts. Okay, all the ledgers are in italics. So you can differentiate. Group is in bold, the ledger is in italics. So it means that when you look at italics, it means that it is a ledger. Under that, you don't have any other masters. This is the final master. So example, if you just click on this ledger, okay, it is showing you, right? Name is cash. And here, if you look at under what group it comes, under means under which group. So here, since it's a cash account, it has been linked to cash in hand, which is typically linked to current assets. Current assets is typically linked to your asset side of the balance sheet. So that is how you need to understand. Okay. And if you look at over here, then on the bottom you have what is the opening balance. In this it is blank because we have just started a new books. So it is blank. But if it's a continuous books of accounts, then you might have opening balance for all your assets and liabilities. That will come to later, how to look at the opening balance. Okay, so like this, you could have the ledger and you could go and view the ledger. Similarly, you have profit and loss account. Okay, it's primary. And if it is an NGO, you could use it as income and expenses. Only 2 ledgers are available. Now, if there is any new ledger that is required based on your business, you could go on creating. And all the ledger master which participates in your chart of accounts, especially for preparing trial balance, should be either part of your ledgers, which is linked to group, or it can directly be a group. Okay. So just have a simple understanding. If you want to generate a trial balance, that should have ledgers, and for that you need to create those ledgers. Okay, so if you want to create a ledger, say example, I want to create one ledger called electricity expense. How do I create? So I'll just go and click on create, select what accounting masters, ledger, and I will say electricity expenses. Under which group it has to come, that is what I need to define over here. So if I take capital, it goes to liability. If I take fixed assets, it goes to asset. If I take income, it goes to income. If I take sales, it goes to income. So the appropriate group you need to select. So the appropriate group here is, it is my expense indirect. Okay, so I'm just selecting expense indirect or indirect expenses. And I'm just saving this master. So I've saved electricity expenses. Similarly, if you want to save salary and wages, this comes under again expenses. Okay, but I don't want to group it under indirect. So I want to group it under separate group, call it as staff cost example. Okay, so what I could do is, I don't have staff cost here. So I could on the fly create a master by clicking Alt C. Alt C for creation of new master. So my cursor is on group. It's here. And in the group, I'm just clicking on Alt C on my keyboard. So it is asking me to create a group. Say example, I'll just say staff cost, which typically comes under again expenses indirect. So I have a subgroup under expenses indirect called staff cost, and salary and wages ledger is stored under staff cost. So now if you look at how many masters that I have, so I can just go back to go to and say statistics. Look here, I have 4 ledgers now. So which are these 4 ledgers? One, of course, cash, profit and loss. Then look at here, indirect expense. Under that, I have staff cost as a subgroup under indirect cost. And under that, I have salaries and wages, which is in italics. And here, if you look at electricity expenses, which is, if you look at the intents, basically, it is coming under indirect expense, not under staff cost. So if you just click on enter, you understand here which is the group that is linked. So similarly, you can go on creating whatever the ledgers you want. So example, I want to create one bank account. Okay, so I'll just go and create and say State Bank of India. And I will link it to bank accounts. So once when I click on bank accounts, additional information starts coming up saying, okay, what is the name of the holder? What is the account number? Okay, what is the IFSC code? Now you could select from the default bank list that is available. So example, I'll just say State Bank of India, which is in India. Then I could specify branch. Then I could have all this checkbook details, various things. This will come to later stage. Once when we deal with banks, then if I have any opening balance, I can give the opening balance over here and save. Say example, similarly, I want to have sales account created. I could just say sales account. This comes under what? Which group? It comes under sales accounts. Then I can just save this. Similarly, I could say purchase account. Under which group it comes? It comes under purchase. As you type, it will start shortlisting. Okay. Then I have a supplier. So I have a supplier called Sri Rama Traders. So supplier comes under sundry creditors. So I could have a bill wise details created, and shortcut key to save is Control A. I could just click on Control A, it gets saved. Okay, or I could say Sri Krishna Enterprises, who is my customer, who comes under sundry debtors. And I could just click on Control A to save. So like this, I can go on creating all the masters, and I can go back to statistics to view how many masters I have created. See, look here. Now it is showing 9. So State Bank of India under bank accounts, cash is of course there. Under sundry debtors, I have Sri Krishna Enterprise. Under sundry creditors, I have Sri Rama Traders. Okay, under expense, I have indirect expense, staff cost. Under staff cost, I have salary wages. Under indirect expense, I have electricity expense. Under purchase accounts, I have purchase account. And under sales account, I have sales. So like this, you can go on creating whichever the masters you want to. Okay. Is there any questions on this before we move on to the next subtopic? Hope this is clear. How to create groups and masters, and what is group, what is master, what is the difference between group and a master? Is that clear? Okay. So now let's go to the next topic, next subtopic, opening balance. What is opening balance? So when you start your books of accounts, and when it's a ongoing business, meaning we change the accounting periods. For example, on 1st of April 2022, we move to a new financial year, which is called financial year 22-23. Prior to that, I was in the financial year 21-22. Now, as a process, as an accounting process, we need to transfer all the balances of assets and liabilities to the new financial year as opening balance. All right. For that, we require an opening balance because we need to start constructing our trial balance, opening, we need to start with the opening balance. Okay, so opening balances are what? Carry forward balances from the previous accounting period. And it is linked at the ledger level, either at the asset or the liability side. Generally, opening balances are only for assets and liabilities, not for your income and expenditures. Okay. So where can you update your opening balance? Either while creating a master, you can enter the opening balance, or while altering the accounting ledgers also you can update your opening balance. Okay. So let us go and look at how do you update opening balance. Say example, now if you look at my ledgers that I have already created, these are my ledgers, 9 ledgers that's already available. So you can go on creating. Now example, I have one supplier and I need to pay him 25,000 rupees. Okay, but I have still not paid and we have moved to a new financial year. Then we need to carry forward the 25,000 balance. So let me just go and create one ledger. Example, I'll say John Traders. Comes under supplier, so under sundry creditor, and he has 25,000 rupee opening balance. So now in the opening balance as of 1st April 2022, I'm just saying 25,000 rupee credit. Okay, and saving this information. So I have 25,000 rupee credit. So on the right hand side, if you look at, see here it is showing total opening balance 25,000 credit. So difference is 25,000, meaning for every credit, I need to have a debit value also, even in the opening balance, because my assets and liabilities should match. So I have updated the liability as sundry creditors. To that extent, I need to have assets also. Okay. So example, now I have one more customer, okay, by name Taj Traders. So he is my customer who comes under sundry debtors and I need to pay him 35,000 rupees. So I need to collect 35,000 rupees from him. I'm sorry. So he is my receivables. So I'm just entering as opening balance as debit balance and updated this, saved. Now if you look at on the right hand side, total opening balance 35,000 debit, 25,000 credit, difference is 10,000 rupees. So automatically Tally will start giving you what is the opening balance difference. So if anyone says in Tally saying that there is a difference, then the difference is only from opening balance, not from anywhere. Hope this is clear. So similarly, if you want to update opening balance for the existing ledger you have, you could go to alter and say ledger. So now I had Sri Rama Traders, who is typically sundry debtors, sorry, sundry creditors, who is my supplier. So I need to pay him 12,000 rupees. So I'm just saying 12,000 rupees. I need to pay him, saved it. So like this, I can go and update. Say like example, Sri Krishna Enterprises, I need to collect 2,000 rupees from him. Now my balance got nullified. So there is 37,000 rupee debit versus 37,000 rupee credit. Okay. Now if I look at in Tally trial balance, so I'll just say click on go to trial balance. Look here, I have sundry creditors 37,000, which is typically from John and Sri Rama traders, and sundry debtors of 37,000, which is from Krishna and Taj traders. Hope this is clear. So like this, we can go on updating the opening balance. One more thing that you need to be clear in opening balances, if you are maintaining bill-wise details, meaning now example, we looked at this opening balance details. Example, we told John traders 25,000 rupees. So I need to pay 25,000. Sorry, I need to pay 25,000 rupees to John traders against which bill number. If you have those details, then you can enter the bill number details also in this sub form. Here you could see here bill wise breakup. So it says as of 31st March 2022, bill number 435. By when I have to pay this? Either by 31st of March 22 or prior to that. Okay. So example, I'll just say by 31st March. Okay. Against bill number 435, I need to pay 6,000 rupees. Against bill number 558, I need to pay 19,000 rupees. So you could have a breakup also if you have multiple bills. The same amount you could give bill wise breakup. So this is called bill wise details. Okay. So if you have only one bill, you could just give only one bill, or you don't have any bill details, you could just click on enter and save it. Is this clear? Are there any questions? Can everyone mute, please, if you do not have any questions? Okay. So if this is clear, then we can move to the next topic. So we have cleared the first topic, which is typically our accounting masters. Now let's go to accounting vouchers. What is accounting vouchers? Accounting vouchers are typically day-to-day transaction that happens in a business, which are recorded, is called accounting vouchers. So every day you make payments, you receive money, you purchase materials, you sell material, you purchase some service, you sell some service, you go and deposit cash to bank, you withdraw money from bank. Okay, there are various types of financial transaction. All this transaction needs to be recorded. So to record this transaction in Tally, we call this option called vouchers to record this transaction. This is just like any form. Say example, you go to school. Okay, you want to admit your kid to a school. In school, what do? They give you an application form. You fill that application form, right? Or you take your parents to hospital. Okay, they ask you to fill the form. You fill the form. Okay. So similarly, in your account for your business, in accounting, you need to account all this transaction. To account all this transaction, it is entered through a form. That form is called voucher in Tally. Very simple. Okay, so these are basically forms. Okay, and what are all the type of accounting vouchers you have? Standard accounting vouchers which are predefined in Tally. One, you have receipt. So the shortcut key is F6 for that. Then you have payments. When you are making a payment to someone, that is shortcut key is F5. I'm sorry, it's not F7, it is F5. Payment is F5. Okay, then contra, you have F4. Contra is nothing but bank to bank transaction or bank to cash transfers or bank to bank transfers that you do. Okay, so that is called contra vouchers. Then you have purchase voucher, which is F9 shortcut key. Sales voucher, which is F8 shortcut key. Journal voucher, which is F7 shortcut key. And you have debit notes and credit notes, which is for debit note, it is Alt plus F5. For credit note, it is Alt plus F6. So these are all the different voucher types that you have for accounting purpose that you need to use. Okay. So how do we use this in Tally? So let us just go back to Tally to understand this. So in Tally, you have opened your database and you are on gateway of Tally. Now under gateway of Tally, you have masters on the top. Below that you have transactions, or under transaction you have vouchers. Come to vouchers. Click on vouchers. So on the left hand side, it is showing you what type of voucher it is. Okay, it's a payment voucher. And on the right hand side, you get all the shortcuts. I was talking about this. If you want to go to contra, click on F4, contra on your keyboard. If you want receipt, click on F6. If you want payment, click on F5. So on the left hand side, you could see here all the voucher types that is getting listed. F7 is journal. F8 is sales. F9 is purchase. Okay, if you want debit note, credit notes, you could go to other vouchers and check here debit note or credit note. Okay, so similarly, these are predefined voucher types, and you could have any number of voucher types that you want. Okay, and next in voucher, if you look at the voucher, the accounting voucher, as I told you, okay, so basic understanding of this, as and when there are business transaction on a day-to-day basis, you post it using accounting vouchers. Okay. Next, in accounting vouchers, so as I told you, it's a form basically. In accounting vouchers, there are some mandatory informations that you need to enter, without which you cannot save. One is you would have already selected which voucher type, which form that you want to use. Inside that, the first thing is you need to know the date of the transaction, date of the voucher. Without date, you cannot continue. First, you need to specify the date. Second, it will have a voucher number. What is the number? So it has a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could manually give the numbering. Then voucher type. Voucher type is nothing but a form type, whether it's a payment entry, purchase entry, sales entry, okay, contra entry, journal entry, receipt entry, payment entry. Similarly, you can select what is the voucher type, that is the form type. Then you need to give the ledger, debit ledger, to which ledger it has to get debited, master, ledger master, and ledger value, what is the amount. Then you need to have a credit ledger and credit value. So you could have multiple debits and multiple credits in the same transaction, or single debit and single credit in the same transaction. But ultimately, the debit and credit should match. If you have a debit value of 500, you need to have a credit value of 500. You cannot have credit value of 499 or 501. Tally will not allow you to save until unless debit and credits are matching. Okay. So let us go and look at it. So how do you make an entry? Say example, now I'm in Tally. Okay, so let us start with a receipt. I received money. Okay. So first thing is, here you are looking at and you are not able to understand what should I debit, what should I credit. So the form, how the look and feel of the form, okay, you can design, okay, you could click on change mode, whether it is single entry mode or double entry mode. I'll just explain you in double entry mode. So you are receiving money, you are accounting. So on the left hand side, you could look at, it says voucher type is receipt and the voucher number is 1. So this is the voucher type and the voucher number. This is mandatorily filled because we are using automated numbering. Then on the right hand side, the date is specified. It is showing 1st of April 2022. One thing that you need to remember in Tally is Tally doesn't go by your computer date or your system date. It goes by the transaction date that is entered in Tally. Currently, we have not entered any transaction. So it is taking the 1st of April, that is the first date of the financial year, as the date of transaction. Now, if you want to change the date, you could always change the date by clicking F2 or date button on your right hand side. So it's asking for the voucher date. So it's asking whether it is next date, second, or you could give whichever the date you want, 5th of April. Okay. So the voucher type, the voucher number, the voucher date, without which you cannot further move. Okay. Then let me come back. So now, basic information that you need to give. So since it's a receipt, from whom are you receiving this money? See, again, you need to go back to your basic accounting rules. Okay, so what should be debited, what should be credited? So you are receiving money, from whom are you receiving this money? You need to define. Okay, so like example, I'm saying I'm receiving money from Krishna Enterprise or Rama Traders. How much money you are receiving? 50,000. Okay, then again, why you are receiving? Are you receiving as advance or are you receiving against a bill, or it's a new reference, or you don't want to give any reference, so you could take on account? The example, I'm just saying I'm receiving an advance of 50,000 rupees, and to which account it has to get debited. So how did you receive this money? Did you receive in cash or it was credited to your bank account? So you need to define this. Say example, I'll say I received in cash. So it has automatically taken 50,000 received in cash. So I'm giving the narration. So this is also not mandatory. So mandatory fields are, first is which, it starts from here. So first you will select which transaction type. Then if it is automatic, the number will appear, or you can give the number, then the date. So without this, you cannot further move forward. Then mandatory information, credit value, debit value. Credit ledger name, credit value, debit ledger name, debit value. And narration, if you want to give the narration explanation, you could give the narration. Else, you could just save this transaction without giving any narration also. So receipt is saved and now it has automatically gone to voucher number 2. All right. So similarly, I want to make a payment. The shortcut key is F5, payment. Okay. So now you could look at here, it has shifted to payment. On the right hand side, payment is disabled because currently you are using the payment voucher. And you want to use journal, you could just click on this journal, or you want to use payment, you could go to payment. So accordingly, it will just shift. Okay. Now, again, payment, voucher type, voucher number, what is the date of the transaction? I want to change the date of the transaction. I'll just click on Alt F2, F2 date, and I'm changing it to 7th of April. So I'm paying, to whom am I paying? Okay, say example, I'm paying to Rama Traders. Look here, once when you click on Rama Traders, on the bottom of it, it is showing what is the current balance, how much you are supposed to pay him. It is showing you 62,000 is the credit. Out of this, I am paying him 10,000 rupees. Now it is asking against which bill you want to pay, because there was one bill for 50,000 rupees already available. So I'm just saying against this bill, I'm paying 50,000 rupees. And how am I paying? I'm paying through cash or through bank. You could select either through cash or bank. Accordingly, you can make the payment. So example, I'm saying I'm paying through check. Okay, so now you could give the transaction reference type. So check or online transfer. Accordingly, you could define this. I'm saying check number 110001, 7th April. And what is the narration? Why am I paying him? So you could give that as narration. Currently, I'm not giving any narration. So this is how you do the transaction. Now, similarly, you want to do one purchase entry. You will go to purchase. Okay, again, simple. Let's get into the voucher mode to see how it gets recorded. So again, there is a purchase voucher number, date, all those things that I need to give. Then further, from whom am I purchasing? Who is my supplier? So credit should go to supplier and debit should go to purchasers. So you should know, while making an entry, you should know what should get debited, what should get credited. Okay, so example, I'm buying from John Traders. Okay, so you could give all this dispatch details, various receipt details and everything. Okay, party details, all these things I can give it. Okay, what is the total value? Say like example, 1,25,000 worth of purchases. New bill number, I get 40 days of credit to make this payment. So I'm liable to pay by 17th of May because my transaction date plus 40 days. My transaction date is 7th of April. You add 40 days to that, it becomes 17th of May. So debit to what? So it is showing all your purchase or expense ledgers. You just take debit to purchase account. So both my debit and credit are tallied. It will allow me to save this transaction. See, now purchase became 2. Similarly, I want to enter sales. I could just click on sales. Okay. Again, I can change the date by giving the dates. For example, 10th of April. Again, I can first let us go by debit credit mode. So I'm just saying voucher. So to whom am I selling? I'm selling to whom? So I'm selling to Sri Rama Traders. What is the value? Value is 1,75,000 rupees. New reference with bill number. So it's saying it's already accounted. So I'll just give a different bill number and I'm giving him 10 days of credit to make the payment. So I'm selling on 10th and I'm giving 10 days of credit. So by 20th, I need to collect this 1,75,000 rupees. And credit goes to sale account. And I'm just saving this transaction. Okay. So similarly, I can go on making whichever the transactions that I need, whether I want to make one journal. So I've got one telephone expenditure bill. I want to account that. Okay. So I've got a bill from BSNL. I need to account this bill and make a payment. So today I've got the bill. So I need to just go and first make a journal entry to account this bill. So today is 11th of April. So I have got a bill number. So I have a physical copy of the bill and the bill also has a number that I'll enter it as reference number over here. 11th April, debit what? Telephone expenditure. It's not available here. That ledger is not available. So what I could do is I could go here and create. You could look at here. There is an option to create here on the fly, or Alt C for that. Telephone expenses comes under expense, indirect. Okay, so telephone expense debit of 10,000 rupees, credit to BSNL. BSNL is also not there. So I need to create. So I'll just say Alt C for create. BSNL. He is my supplier, so it comes under sundry creditors. Bill by bill details is required. Okay, and I'm just saving this master. So it is 10,000 rupees. New bill reference. So it is automatically taking the reference number that I had given as the bill number. And I'm supposed to pay by 20th of April 22. So I can either give the date or number of days. So when I give the date, it will automatically compute number of days. When I give the days, it will automatically compute the date. Okay. So I'm just saving this transaction. So like this, I can go on saving the transaction as and when I do this entry. And I can go again back to statistics. In go to and look at this. So look here, how many masters are there and how many transactions are there. So there are 5 transactions that is created. And under what? Under journal, there is 1 transaction. Under payment, there is 1 transaction. Under purchase, there is 1 transaction. Under receipt, there is 1 transaction. Under sales, there is 1 transaction. Totally, there are 5 transactions. And if you want to go and look at which are these transactions, there are multiple ways to go and look at. On the gateway of Tally, you have something called daybook. Okay, and it is showing for on the top, you could see for which period it is showing. On 11th. So on 11th, there is 1 journal entry. If you want to change the date, you just go and change the date and say on 1st of April, you want to see. So is there any transaction on 1st of April? No. Is there any transaction on 4th of April? No. Is there any transaction on 5th of April? Yes. There is on receipt transaction. Or if you want to look at for a period, so there is a from date to to date. So what you could do is you use the combination of Alt F2, or you could click on this arrow mark on the date and say period. Alt. So 1 lane represents Alt F2. So from 1st April to 31st March for the whole year. Look, these are all the transactions we have saved. And you could go to a detailed view, which will tell you how much is debit and how much is credit. So Sri Rama Traders credit, cash debit. Sri Rama Traders credit, bank debit. Right? So like this, sorry, here Sri Rama Traders debit, bank credit, because it's payment. Okay. So like this, you could go and look at the vouchers. Is this clear? Okay. So if you have this basic understanding, okay, then we can further continue with our other things. Okay. So today we have covered accounting masters and accounting vouchers purely with respect to how to create masters, how to create groups, ledgers, okay, and how to update the opening balance. We looked at vouchers. What is this voucher? To make a voucher, what are all the mandatory information that is required, and how to enter the voucher and save the vouchers. Okay. So we have come to the end of this today's topics of discussion. Are there any questions on this? If there are any questions, you could just unmute and speak, or you can either put it on chat, or you can just unmute and speak so that we can get you the answers for your queries.